Right, welcome to episode 5 of the Shake, Rattle and Roll podcast series. I'm Richard Shaw, and I'm very fortunate to have Irish fighting legend, the Housewives' favourite, Chris Fields, with me this evening. Chris is, an MMA legend as far as I'm concerned, from Ireland, and he's been on the circuit for as long as I can remember. So it'd be good to get his take on a few things. How are you doing, Chris? You all right, pal?
Good. I don't like you bringing reference to the greyness in this hair there. For as long as I can remember. I'm sure you couldn't remember long before I was around, Shane.
How old are you now, Chris? You don't mind?
I'm going to say I'm only 36. Is that all right? Is it better?
Oh, you're in your prime then. In your prime. I've got the age. Just I shave them off, mate. If you have a couple of weeks grow, you can see a fair bit of it.
I can usually get away with it, but at the moment I can't shave that off, so I'm walking around with this salt and pepper going on, you know?
Yeah. How is it over in Ireland at the moment with this COVID lockdown?
Yeah, so the kind of rules here are 2 kilometres from the house. You're allowed within 2 kilometres of your house for exercise, and then unless you're essential services, you're not allowed work. So
that's a lot stricter than over here then, because there's no restrictions on traveling if you've got work now. There's obviously the lockdown is on. You're only supposed to go to work if it's essential, but nothing about just two kilometers. So that's interesting.
So if you have to go to work, you can travel whatever distance that is, but you're not supposed to be within 2 kilometers. Thankfully, my gym is 500 meters from my house, so I'm grand. It's great all the time.
What are they being strict with it? A police getting involved to make sure
I don't think they're actually being strict. I think it's more like a social contract, which is like, look, we're all in this. We all need to help each other out. I'm sure their heads are melted the same as everyone else. They don't want to be telling people to go home and all, So look, there's obviously the usual anywhere. There's a few people not sticking to it, but it seems like most people are just kind of going about their.
That seems to be the same in Wales. Believe it or not, it seems to be the real old people who've got no fear of it. Somebody said to me the other day, I don't know what's worse, the youngster stupidity and naiveness, or the stubbornness of the old people, because the groups you tend to see are youngsters out and about on their bikes taking no notice of the rules, or older people, But
I keep hearing and to be friends of mine going, there's just bunches of there's groups of young lads hanging around. I'm like, dude, I knew you when you were 15. There's no way you would have listened to this shit. I probably wouldn't have listened to it.
Yeah, you are right. You are right.
It's hard to be mad at a bunch of teenagers. You'd be after a day, you'd be going off your head at home.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I mean, I'm finding it tough. I'm a creature of routine, and for the last 20 years, I've done the same thing. Go to work, come home, go training, teach a class, and that's been the pattern. And the last couple of weeks have been really tough. The one thing that's been our saving grace, our Jack has just bought a house which has needed a fair bit of work, so it's
nice.
It's the bottom of my street, so I've been able to keep myself busy down there. He's working me to the bone. I got bloody blisters all over my hands. He's taking advantage.
I basically, probably similar to yourself, I'm away almost every weekend with Conor and people So for about 3-4 years now, I've been saying to the missus, I'll get around to doing that when I'm a bit of time.
You're banking all this time in now, mate.
So to be fair to her, she'd never really, she doesn't harangue me or give me hassle. As soon as she said, can you do that thing? I'm just look, like a rat in a corner. I was just done. That's it, right? I'm done. Can't go anywhere else.
My garden has never looked so pristine. It's been painted, the decking, the plants have been done. But hopefully, mate, it won't last too long, and we'll be back to a bit of normality for all of us. And we'll touch on that a bit later on how we think the shows will go. Right, gonna get into it then. Pretty much, Chris Fields as a youngster. How did you get involved in martial arts?
I actually started when I was, I think I was 6. I started kickboxing, and then there was just a small club where I grew up, and I had a few kind of comps and fights from there, and then the club was starting to fall apart, and my dad had started in the club after me, but I was a kid obviously, and he just kind of ended up, before it went under, him and a few of the lads just kind of took it over. And so the kids kind of disappeared then. I was only 12 or 13 at this stage, and I ended up training with the adults.
Yeah.
So I was going up sparring with the men. Like, if you know martial arts from back in the day, like, protective equipment probably wasn't the main concern. I took a few hidings in that club, like a few.
So is that how your dad got involved by taking you to the classes?
Yeah, he started.
That's very, very similar to the story with me and Jack. I mean, we used to do a bit of training in a pub function room for years, you know, and there was a black belt in karate there called Steve Amon and a black belt in judo called Reese Long. We used to train about 3 days a week. And if anything, it gave me a bit of character, and I knew how to throw and strike a little bit.
Yeah.
But I started taking Jack to kickboxing when he was about 6 years of age, and it was the club used to run jiu-jitsu classes, traditional jiu-jitsu, and I ended up getting involved through there. But has your dad been a coach to you as well over the years?
Actually, sorry, not to put it down. My dad died when I was 16.
But
he actually never got to see me fighting this, obviously, but he would have loved this sport. To be honest, I don't even think we really knew. I didn't know about it at 16 years old.
No,
I didn't have a clue. I think he would have. He's from like what would be like a tough part of Dublin and stuff. You know, he grew up like in a tough part of Dublin, so he liked to watch scraps.
Yeah, so he'd have loved to have followed you on your MMA.
Yeah, I think so.
And he'd probably be involved now at the gym with you and Tom, I'm guessing, as well. Doing it.
I'd be hoping he wouldn't be going, you should have done this and you should have done that. You know, those people probably would have, to be honest. Like, you know yourself. But.
So 6 years of age into kickbox. How long did you do kickboxing for?
I kickboxed I think from about 6 till about 16, and then the usual girls drinking, partying. You know, got back into that. Started working with a guy when I was about 19 or 20, and he was training in a kickboxing club. I went there and I met the guy that I still have as my, like, he corners me for a lot of my fights, and he hold pads for everything I do, Phil White. And then I started doing traditional jiu-jitsu at the time. I thought traditional jiu-jitsu was BJJ. I didn't know there was a difference. And then we started training a bit of that, and then I fell in love with the groundwork.
Who was you doing your traditional jiu-jitsu with, Chris?
A guy called Joe Carslake.
No, I can't think.
He'd be quite well known over here. Like, it was in Drumcondra in Dublin. Like, and I was training with a few guys there, and then they were like, "Look, I actually won the Irish Open in BJJ while training there." Yeah. So I was told to go up to John and SPG. Then that was kind of, and then.
What age was that when you joined SPG?
I think I was probably about 22, maybe at that stage.
Any other sports as a youngster, or is it just solely
everything? I was actually just chatting to a few lads about this. I think that's important too. I think like kind of crossing over is important. You know, there's this kind of idea that the new version of MMA guys are only ever going to train MMA. I think that's a bad thing. I think the idea of playing different sports is really healthy.
I agree, because I think also it gives them a taste of a different sporting culture. It also makes their mind up as to whether this is something, this is what they want to do, you know, because there's nothing worse than having that you know, thought at the back of their mind thinking, oh, what if I try this? Like how Jack played football. He was rubbish at football, he'll tell you that, all right? But he played for a few teams, and then he was a very good rugby player. He captained the local side for under 14s, under 15s. You know, and they done well, some cup finals and whatnot, but he came to a crossroads then at about 15, 16, where he just won the British Open at BJJ, and you know, he made that decision, and he was lucky to have people around him that were pro fighters, and he could see that if you want to be great at one sport, I say this to everybody, you've got to commit fully to that sport. But
I think that's a good age too to make your call. I remember reading, you know, the sprinter Michael Johnson.
Yeah.
He said he like never. He did all sports until he was about 17, 18, like, and he played them all at a pretty decent level, and then just made, right, this is it now. I'm going to focus in on this, you know.
I was late getting into traditional jiu-jitsu. 29 was my first traditional jiu-jitsu class. Yeah, like I said, I was training from the age of 18 onwards, sporadically with these doormen that used to run the judo and the karate. But when I took it serious was 29, when a friend of mine who trains with me now, Steve Jane, we bumped into each other down the local leisure centre. I thought I could handle myself, and punching the bags down there I am, and he comes in, he says, "Oh, you're still training with the lads in the function room?" "Yeah, yeah." "Do you fancy having a grapple?" I think, "Oh Christ, I remember Steve in school, I should be able to hammer him." And he just submitted me one time, and then from that I joined the kids, the adult class at the same club where our Jack was training. And one of my previous guests, Joe Duffy, was there as a 14-year-old kid, and he submitted me no end.
What was that team called?
Falcons Martial Arts.
Falcons.
Yeah, that was
my first ever fight was 2008, and Joe was actually supposed to fight Tom Egan, and I remember
that's right. It was a missed over the missed weight. Was that the one?
I think there was it was actually, to be fair, it was the promoter.
Confusion of the weights, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So the promoter told Tom Egan it was day before weigh-in, and he told Joe it was day of.
Ah, right.
And then he was trying to get Tom Egan to cut again of the day of the fight and all this kind of mad shit. It was, but like, you know yourself as Cowboys back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah. I remember turning up for a fight in Exeter, a professional fight, and my opponent weighed in, it was like 3k over, you know. And it wasn't even a debate. It's like, oh, he's 3k over. And I look now and I think, God, I never let one of my lads jump in. It just wouldn't happen. The sport, and that's a positive, Chris. It's wonderful to see the sport has evolved since them days back in the early 2000s to where it is now, you know.
But it's also kind of nice to have been there, I think, as well.
I think so. I think, like you and me, we've been there from day dot, and we appreciate what's happening now. The things that Cage Warriors are doing for these youngsters, you know. And I've said this to every guest I've spoken on the pod. I say to my youngsters all the time, you don't know how fortunate you are to have black belt level coaching, being able to share the match with guys that's in the UFC, to fight on Cage Warriors. Having mats, you know, having a cage to train in, you know. I had one out of all my amateur and pro fights. I had 2 fights in a cage. All the rest was in rings or on mats. You know, so it's great, and I think as well, having seen what it is, I do appreciate what the likes of Cage Warriors and some of the more reputable shows are putting in place for the youngsters. You know? So, right, so we've touched on sports. What were you like as a youngster? Were you a bit of a tearaway? Were you a quiet lad? Were you always in fights?
I was, for want of a better phrase, a little bit of a dickhead. Probably a bit gobby. Got myself in a fair bit of mischief. Probably ran around with the wrong people for a long time. Never like seriously bad, like, you know what I mean? But just probably a bit of probably had a little bit too much energy and a little bit too much mischief. Like, my son will be 5 in September, and I always, like, I joke with my missus, I worry like that if he gets my mischief and her intelligence, we're in trouble, like, you know.
Is it just the one son? Have you got any other children?
No, just one, just Tommy,
Tom, yeah.
He but I just used to get caught for everything I done. That was the problem, because I was too dumb, like. So if he gets her, she's smart. So if he's as smart as her and as bad as me, we're in trouble. Yeah, we're gonna have a hard time in the teens. I grew up in like just a normal working class area, but drugs would have been quite rampant when I was young in the area. You know what I mean? There was a fair few kind of rough individuals floating around. But as in, I've had the joy, because of this job, of traveling pretty much all over the UK and Ireland, and it seems to be the same everywhere. Like every one of those places, there's all the working class areas have the same issues. Like, you know, it seems to be.
We have this a lot where we come from in the South Wales valleys, where back in the 80s there was a really strong mining community, so there was lots of jobs, you know, lots of people in work, and then the miners' strike came along in the 80s. All the pits started shutting down, and it's a skeleton of what it was, you know. But what it does do, it's a tough area to grow up in, and you know, people say to me, how have you managed to get such a stable of guys, regardless of ability, that are real fighters? You know, they want to fight, and it's like, these kids have been fighting all their life. They know nothing else. You know, they will fight for free, and the fact that they can come. They can do it in a disciplined environment. And let's say a lot of the lads that I deal with are frustrated, they're aggressive by nature. And what MMA has done for these kids is give them a good outlet in a positive way, without them going to prison, without them getting in trouble. And also, and I see one of my favourite words is achieve, and I say they've competed and they've achieved, whether it be BJJ, whether it be amateur MMA, whether it be professional MMA, and for the first time in their life, they're having a little bit of kudos, they're having a crowd react to them, they're having positives, they're having their name in the newspaper for the right reason in the local press, and I think, you know, every working class area needs to have a central either boxing gym. It doesn't even have to be a combat sport, but it needs to be a community sports environment where they can go there, have good people around them, and do something positive. Unfortunately, mate, there's not enough of it about. There's not enough.
We have like, I don't know if you've heard of it. I know, like, I'm trying to. Some of it's played in Scotland, but I don't know if it's played in Wales. But it's like GAA, like Gaelic football and hurling.
It's not played in Wales. I've seen it though. I've seen it.
They tend to be that in the communities here. So there's a GAA club in almost all communities, and they're very community based. And it's actually a lot of what me and Tom tried to do with our club. Almost copy their model. So like team tracksuits, and you know, this is where people feel they're part of something. Agreed.
Yeah. And you know, we've spoke online and on social media where, you know, and I've said this to I had Paddy Bimler in, and their team and your team are very similar. The guys that train there, they're a team. They're friends. They socialise outside of the gym, and I think that's key to being successful. Is about having trust in your teammates. There's too many gyms where the student, it's all about them. It's not about, like, my guys. I can have, say we have a Cage Warriors event in Wales. I'll probably have eight guys fight then. So we'll have a fight camp for your 10, 12 weeks, whatever, leading up to that point. But then if there's one or two lads got fights a couple of weeks later, those guys will continue and support them right the way through. And you don't see that in all the the gyms, you know.
Well, I explain this to my lads a lot. I'm like, about traveling to train. I'm like, I do believe people should travel. I think you should go to places and get some rounds in, and you should go like even the bigger teams. But like, you're not going to get attention, and no one's going to care if you show up or not. Like,
no, spot on.
You know, like you should, like, I'm always saying, I wouldn't even use those places for a camp. I'd go out of camp and get 2 weeks sparring in with a few different bodies and then come back or whatever, you know. But yeah, no one's going to give you the attention you're going to get at one of these clubs over here. Like, I'd agree, and like, you know, the likes of your team and the guys in Liverpool, like, would be guys, and James Doolan in Scotland.
Doolan's got a great team as well. Yeah, he's got it right together up there, to be fair.
They're the teams when I started that I was aiming at. You know what I mean? That's who I'm like. I'm just following that lead and trying to catch up. You know, yourself, James, and Paul Rimmer would all be people I'd stop and talk to, and like, I like to, you know, I just like their company. I like being around them. So it's obviously a trait. And I think our results speak for us. I mean, Paul has got Fishgold. Paul's got 2 in the UFC. James has got, Danny Henry? Has he got 2 or 3, James? My mind's gone blank. He's got Stevie Ray, Danny Henry. Danny Henry. Yeah, he definitely had one more.
One more, wasn't it? I'm sure there was 3. You know, we've got 3 over with us now, and I just think the blueprint is there now, I think, you know. But again, you need characters around the gym. Like in our gym, we've got Chris Edwards, you know, Chris from the Cage Warriors, you know, and he is, you know, Chris has probably got to that age. He's not going to make it to the UFC now, but he loves to fight. We have a team skipper, and he's our team skipper. You know, he's, you know, but for the morale,
that role. You know, and the experience he has, and the experiences he's had, and you know, the ups, the downs, knowing when to talk to lads, when to leave them off and get back to them next week. You know, this kind of stuff, like, really important.
You know, I can bring him in. I can say, right, I need you to go hard with Jack. I need you to go quiet with, you know, and he will train for that purpose. He's great. So, yeah, you know, and your results are starting to show through now, and I think you've got something special on your hands here, to be honest, mate, with the lads.
Yeah, I like, you know, obviously I'd like to go, it's all down to my coaching, but like a lot of it's just like, you know, obviously you have to mold them, but you're just lucky about the young lads that walk through your door. You know, that kind of, you are very much so. Like, you're very lucky that, and it's not even that they walk in with a skill set on, it's that they walk in with a mentality, the right kind of. I suppose myself and Tom, and probably similar to yourself, lads that don't have that don't last in our club. Like, they just won't last. They just, like, they be called on it constantly till they just up and leave or change, one or the other. Don't want it.
you know, and to be successful, like even at BJJ, if that's like, you've still got to be driven. You've still got to have a bit of character about you. You've got to turn up. You've got to have your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
You know, round after round, and but still keep coming back. You know. So you moved up with John at SBG. You were, what did you say, around about 19?
I think I was about 20. I was about 21, 22 when I started.
So was that with a view to take an MMA serious? Was that what drove you there?
Yeah.
When did Chris Field think, I'm going to give this MMA a crack?
I went off traveling so I did like what we call it an MMA league, and it's like a no headshots team. I think you hold some events like it. Yeah.
We had it in Wales. Grappling Strike did it for years, and the Combat Sports Open Trials in Hereford did it for years as well.
So I did I think I did about maybe 6 or 8 of those fights. And then I went traveling for like 6 months. I did like a trip around the world. And while on that trip, I kind of made my mind up that when I got back, I was just going to go straight into training. That's all I wanted to do. I came back, I did that, but I also had like good jobs. So I was working in a bank and stuff. So I was finding it very hard to, like, I was training every evening. So,
yeah.
But like, it's hard to just drop a job like that.
I worked in a bank for 7 years, worked for Barclays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the hours aren't so bad. The money's quite good, you know. Yeah. It's like, and so I was kind of very lucky that I had my first fight in 2008. So basically, I was saving up money to turn professional in the January, and in September or something, they called us all into an office and they went, "Look, we're going to start doing voluntary redundancy." Like, I was like, "I'll take it." I'll take it. and things hadn't got so bad yet. So they were offering quite good money, and it was enough to probably do me for 2 years training, like, you know. So it's quite lucky, like.
So when you joined SBG, who were your main training partners at the time? Who was there at that time in 2008?
So that was just me, Tom Egan, Connor, Paddy, Ash, and Roddy. That was the team.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of guys who'd like come and, you know, they'd be working full time. They'd come in the evenings or whatever, like, you know, that kind of way. But it wasn't like wasn't a force to be reckoned with or anything. Tom King was there. Obviously, he was. I think he was a purple at the time.
Yeah.
The first time I ever trained in John's was before I ever went on that trip, and I think John was a purple belt at the time. Like, he was in a small place in Harold's Cross. I went up. It was a small, basically one wrestling mat was the whole gym. So
you've gone there, you start training there full time then, Chris?
Yeah.
So you were at SBG at the very beginning. Then, when, like I said, when John was a purple belt, and you were all what we call novice fighters. Then, what was that journey like? That must have been something special to be part of, because there was a real purple patch in Irish MMA, wasn't it? You know, your team in particular. There was numerous UFC fighters, lots of you doing, you know, great things on the Cage Warriors and Bama circuits as well. But, you know, how did that feel to be part of that process? Did you take a lot from that as a coach yourself now?
Yeah, like I kind of, and I suppose if you're ever to speak to like someone like Cahill or those or any of the guys, I think, I kind of filled that role without knowing it. I was just doing it all the time. So anytime John wasn't able to corner someone, I was filling. When John was away, I was taking the classes.
Yeah.
I'd always be like checking up on guys to make sure they're okay, they'd done enough, their weight was okay. That was kind of maybe like the role you're saying, the skipper role, just kind of took it on. Naturally, I was maybe a little bit older than some of the guys on the team, and I kind of I've always had an inkling to want to help people, you know, it's just in me. So I've always enjoyed that role.
Who was the first to sign for the UFC? Because a lot of people think it's Conor. It wasn't Conor, was it?
The first guy from our gym was Tom Egan.
Tom Egan it was. How many fights did Tom have? Was it just the one on the Dublin card?
Just the one. He got unfortunately for him at the time, he got John Hathaway.
Yeah, it was a fantastic fighter at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, John was. I actually I was lucky enough to train with John a good bit. I was brought over a few times to London Shoot to help him get ready for fights. He was excellent. Yeah, he was excellent. Yeah.
What was that atmosphere like in the gym? That when Tom has come in and John has come in, they've gone, guys, we're in. We've got a fighter on the UFC.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy at the time. I think I'd had one fight, maybe two.
Yeah.
And then it was like there was an amazing buzz in the gym. I think what that probably did more than anything is it instilled the idea that this was possible, and it probably made it a bit more professional.
And that was definitely the case with us, you know. Must be 4 years. I was trying to think, 2016. I think it was November 2016 when we'd been trying, and I was thinking, are we ever going to get the break? And I remember driving home from work, and Boylan rang me and he says, right, Marshall was due to fight on Cage Warriors, defend his world title in Newport, and it was like 6 weeks' notice, I think, or 4 weeks' notice. It wasn't a lot of time. And he says, right, I can match him on the Dublin, on the Belfast card. Sorry, and it was such a moment for me. It was like, do you know what? All the years that I've been putting in, it's come to this point. I think it was 9 years we'd been running the gym, and it was like, finally, I've got somebody. Somebody through the door, and it's justification. And as a coach, and it'll, you know, you'll experience this when your guys, you've got a few lads here that 100% are going to get in UFC, where you think it's justified all the hard work you've put in. Do you know what I mean? All the processes and the structure you put in place, you're right to do it.
I was at the Northern Ireland fight. I was actually up there.
You was up there, yeah?
I was up watching them. Yeah, it was a good scrap. It was a good scrap.
Great, and a tough first fight as well, you know. For
yes, it was. Yeah.
Oh, and to come away with a bonus as well. Yeah. So a great start. What? Tom only had the one fight. How was that? Was it no multi-fight deal, or did they cut him? Do you know what?
I think it was like I don't know the ins and outs, so I don't really want to do Tom too much of a disservice, but I think it was like they wanted a local guy for the
yeah.
I can't remember now the ins and outs. I think there was, and then I think like Tom left shortly after that and went to the US. Like I think he was kind of a bit disappointed with how things had gone and stuff like that, you know. So
still the first one from the team, is it? You know, never take that from him. So. In the early days, obviously, you're training. You've named all the guys. Obviously, Conor is probably the most famous guy to come. Did you know early on in his career that he was destined to be like a superstar? Or
there was always something about Conor. He had a kind of maybe a little bit of an aura about him, and maybe more of like just It's probably he's like, even when he wasn't that refined, he had that death touch. I wish I was born with a death touch. Jeez, I think everyone wished they were born with a death touch. You know what I mean?
We all.
It's like just that, like I've sparred Conor many times. Like I said, the group was so small that I sparred Aisling Daly many times. You know, that's how small the group was. And Conor just had that stupid power, like, you know, just like he hit like a middleweight. He hit like a hard-hitting middleweight, you know. Yeah,
his ratio of KOs and TKOs speak for itself, don't it? You know.
He always had there was always something like a little je ne sais quoi about him, you know, a little something that stood out. To be honest, and this isn't like not. I never imagined what has happened.
No,
know what I mean. I don't think anyone could though. Like
no, I mean who would? But you know, because it's been mental, you know. But I think it's just been. How can I put it? He did everything right at the right time. The predictions, the Mystic Mac, you know, the clean finishes. He's very.
That's the thing. He said it, then did it, which is like that's the thing. That's the
thing, and everything fell into place. I think. You know, stylistically, a lot of the fighters he fought were perfect for him. You know, everybody was saying about Aldo, and that's why I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a really tough fight. And he sparks him quickly, and I think he just justified how good and how tough a lad he was. But the power he generated at that weight, was probably incredible at 65k. You know, the UFC you talked about. You were in Belfast. I went to the Dublin card when Joe Duffy was supposed to fight Dustin Poirier. That was pulled. Paddy was then made main event. Were you still at SBG at the time? Were you in the corner?
I was cornering Carl Pendrick that night.
He had a tough night with Tom Breeze, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Now, I have never witnessed an atmosphere. I say this to everybody. I came from there, and that was one of the key things for me to really, really push the Welsh scene. I wanted to reinvent the Welsh MMA scene through Cage Warriors and produce what you guys are doing in Ireland, where the country gets right behind. Ash and Daly come out. I've never ever heard anything like it. Paddy came out main event. Neil Seary, you know, Darren Till had a fantastic.
Darren's well liked over here actually. Like, you know, to be honest, if Jack fought here, like he'd get a huge reception because we're coming off the Cage Warriors roster gets a big reception here.
Yeah. And I think the Welsh will always get a good reception in Ireland and vice versa because you know we've always had that rivalry with England to some extent. I mean, you know, and it's natural. And
it's like our enemy's enemy is our friend.
Yeah. And you see that with the rugby, Chris, when the Six Nations is in town and everything. When the Irish guys come over, you can just see it's a really, really good carnival. And I think I felt it firsthand when I meet with you guys and different teams from Ireland. You know, Andy Ryan and their team. I get on really, really well with you guys. There's never no bad feeling. Even if we got guys fighting each other, it's a sporting contest and it's not like a real.
You never made a Helix show, did you? No.
No, I didn't, mate. I didn't, unfortunately. That's when the title on New Year's Eve was there, wasn't it?
Yeah, so like I think they did like maybe 4 in total. I think I fought on like maybe 3 of them, maybe 2 or 3 of them. But like this thing, it's not a big venue at all. I'd say 1,500 people, maybe max 2,000. But it's like a cauldron. It's like this shape, with the cage right in the middle, and it's made for music and theatre and stuff. So the sound just travels all over the place.
Yeah.
But I've met, honestly, like I fought the same night Conor fought, and I think I drew that night. But I've honestly met, there's 1,500 people in the arena, and I probably sold about 400 tickets.
Yeah.
But I've met 50,000 people that were there that night.
Have you ever been to one of our Welsh shows yet?
I cornered Phil Mulpeter against Albi.
Was that 100? I think it wasn't it?
Year and a half ago.
Year and a half. Yeah, I think that was that when Jack fought Eckendale for the title main event?
Jeez,
or was it when he did it against Malone? I can't remember. I'll have to go back.
I think Jack was the main event. I think that night. I think he was.
Because the atmosphere there when he comes out is second to none. Now the entire arena, you know, you have, and it's still early days for MMA. And people turn up to watch their friends on a lot of the local grassroots shows. They do, you know. So, for example, like you said, you sold 400 tickets. People will come and watch you, and they got no interest. And you see that a lot, and people leave the venue. But what I found since we've been doing the arena shows, they stay right the way through, and they get behind every Welsh fighter. You know, the reception how Jack used to get, it was mind blowing. You couldn't hear yourself think, you know. So, really grateful for the.
He would have made a thing now that any guy that fights in Wales that used to be on Cage Warriors, most of the Welsh fans will know because they tune into Cage Warriors on a regular basis. You know,
spot on.
And that's what happens here. Like, so if, like, say Jack fought in Dublin, most of the Irish people now will keep tuning into, they would have went back and watched Cage Warriors because of Conor maybe, and now they'll just watch any Irish guy coming through, and then they'll know all the other guys from the UK and Ireland that are coming through, and you know, it's a nice thing.
Going back to your fighting career, what is your official record, Chris? Is Sherdog correct, or is there some fights missing off there?
I think it's 13-8.
13-8. So your first fight was back in 2008. What year did you win the world title for Cage Warriors?
2012.
Yeah. How was that to be crowned the champion of the world?
Yeah, it was a pretty good experience. I kind of like. I'd done that tournament, so it was a weird middleweight.
Was it the Russian guy you fought in? Who did you? Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Pavel Kush,
That's it. Yeah, he had a good win with over Phillips in the man.
Yeah, he kind of caught Phillips early, a little sneaky leg locks. He's very dangerous at that stuff actually, and for that time that was almost unheard of. Like a guy with amazing leg locks back then, you know. I kind of weathered the storm a little bit with those leg lock attempts, and then he was done. Just picked him apart, then beat him up.
Was the world title before you went into the tough house, or before?
Yeah.
It was before.
The year before, I think. Yeah.
Right, so you're world champion.
Yeah.
You then have.
I'm doing math in my head now. That's getting punched in the head for a living. I'm like, ooh, shit.
How did How did the tough experience come about? How did you end up getting? It was you and Cattell got in, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, me and Cole. So I got married and went on my honeymoon, and I came back, and then I saw they were trying out. So I basically used some of the money from the wedding to pay for my way over. I'd actually tried out for years before in Vegas too. So this time was in Indianapolis, I think, the one that we got in. I tried it in Vegas before, and I got down to the last few, and then they decided they weren't going to use middleweights anymore. I was going middleweight at the time. They asked me, could I make welterweight? I was like, yeah. Get me a saw there, mate. You know what I mean? I can barely make middleweight on the best day. You know what I mean? So, but that time, like, I said to Carl, what do you think? And he was like, well, what are you thinking? Now you think, because I hadn't fought light heavy at that point. Like, he was like, are you thinking light heavy or middle? And I was like, well, if you want to go, I'll go light heavy. You go middle. And we both, because we both fight a weight division down.
Yeah.
And he was like, me and Carl are like brothers. We've been friends since about 2008, 2009, and so yeah, so the two of us went over, both of us got in. Kind of nice situation that way, but like for me anyway, I don't know if it's my personality or it's everyone. I hated the experience of it. It's just not me. Like it's not.
Yeah. I can imagine it's quite intense. I mean, it would help having Pendred with you, obviously, but it's still intense away from the family. No contact with your family, Chris, while you're out there.
No, and I, like I said, I just got married, like so.
Yeah, tough, mate. Tough.
Yeah, so you can't like speak on the phone, can't send an email, a letter, can't receive a postcard, can't read a book, can't bring any books in, can't bring any music in, can't listen to anything. Like so, no TV in the place, you know. So yeah, it's not a nice situation, but like kind of a means to an end more than anything. You know, that's where you're looking at it. Like
it worked out well for. How do you pronounce Pendred's first name?
Cahill.
Cahill.
Cahill, yeah.
Cahill. Am I saying that right? My Welsh accent? Cahill.
You're not far off.
Cahill.
So actually, it means strong in battle in Gaelic.
They named him well there then, didn't they?
I always said that from the old lad picked him right, didn't he?
So, Cahill obviously went on to win it. You was the semi-finals or something? I remember you did.
Yeah, I think semis. Yeah.
Okay. So he went on, signed a 4-fight deal. He was another one that signed a contract. You know, you've been there or thereabouts around the UFC World Championship. Why do you think you never actually got the break? Is there any reason for that?
I just think like a few times a little bit unlucky. The time they came, like I did that tough thing, and then they were coming to Dublin. Had I not gone to tough, I actually probably would have got in.
Would have got signed, yeah. So bad timing. Yeah.
And just kind of a little bit unlucky at times, but to be honest, obviously it's something I'd like to tick off the box, and it's something I've thought about recently. But if I was to fall off the chair here now and tear my ACL, I'd be very happy with how my career was, and I know I've probably known my path for about half my career. I've known what way I was going to go. You know, that kind of way. I've always said I was going to open a gym. Ever since I was like about 4 or 5 fights in, I was like, I'm going to open a gym. That's going to be my long-term goal. You know, so. Yeah,
it's the same for me. Very early on into my martial arts career, it was a case of I knew coaching was something I wanted to do. I just tended to enjoy it, enjoy breaking it down. I started taking class. You know, when I was at Falcons Martial Arts, I ended, you know, with Joe and I started taking classes regular, and I enjoyed it. You know, and I used to find it improve me as a fighter as well, because you're breaking down techniques a lot more in your mind.
I find my knowledge of the sport is a lot greater now than when I was only fighting. You know, because I also find I have to teach stuff I don't use. Like I can't just stuff that works for 6'4" Chris. Like you know what I mean? Like I have to show stuff that, and then sometimes you're like, well, that I could make that work with this tweak, or I can make this. You know, this kind of. So I'm really enjoying that. I do a lot of studying fighters. You probably heard when I corner, I have calls their fighters' names, so like my guys know. It's almost like quarterback stuff. Like so, I call a certain fighter's name, and my fighter will know what movement I'm looking for. But what I do is I study a lot of I'll study I stick to one fighter for like 3 weeks, say, and then in the gym that's what we'd be covering, stuff he does, how he does it here, how does he put his weight there, you know, obviously like Khabib, Maya, these kind of people, like there's a lot to put over from them, like, and then get your own little twist on them, basically.
Yeah, definitely. With I You recently posted. Were you due to fight on one of the Irish cards for Cage Warriors before this?
I was due to fight in the Birmingham card.
The Birmingham card, right?
Remember, so it would have been like a week, April 18th. So it would have been like 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago.
And I remember you putting a tweet out saying you'd love to win there and then do a swan song, just one and done with the UFC if that opportunity came, or
no, I'd be fairly 100% that I'd just have the one and call it a day.
Do you think they would give you a contract for a one fight deal, or do you think they'd want more of a commitment from you?
I wouldn't tell them I was going to have one fight, but yeah.
You do realize Dana watches these podcasts, mind? Yeah, big deal over in the USA.
Good old Dana, huh? I think it'd be very good. It would have been very good press for them coming here. The story sells itself, really. I agree. So I think it might have suited them that way. It would have got them a lot of media on the ground in Ireland and stuff like. But for me, it was just like I said. I think about it a bit now. It's something I just would like to take off my box before I call it a day. I've pretty much done everything I can in the sport at that point.
Yeah, I'd love to see you have that, particularly in that Dublin, in that arena. It'd be something for you to go out. Win, lose or draw, mate. It would be just a fantastic experience for you. So. Fingers crossed,
I fought there with I fought there a few times, but I fought there with KSW, and the place packed out, right? But mostly Polish fans, right? And so I walk out, and a little ole starts in the back, right? And then a few Irish start joining in, and then all of a sudden the Poles just take over, and I'm in Dublin fighting a Polish guy, and it's like Polska. I'm like, how has this happened?
How has that worked out?
How has this happened this way, man?
Oh, brilliant, mate.
They're great shows. I don't know if you've had a few boys in there.
I've never actually had anybody on, but I've watched them, and I mean, God, I put a post up back last year, and he'd refereed, and it's like 60,000 people there, and incredible.
I fought in one of the ones in Poland as well. It's a big arena show. The production value is probably above the UFC. The production's phenomenal. But there's obviously a few other things going on. Boys juiced off their heads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm very happy to have done it because I would be very similar to yourself. I'd imagine a massive Pride fan, and that's what it was called. Like a Pride show.
Yeah, I think. I don't know whether I'm just being paranoid, but I tend to have not a lot of interest off other events because of my connection with Cage Warriors. Right. I got guys there that would be a fantastic asset to some of the other bigger shows. Your Bellators, your Braves, and always seem to enter into a little bit of conversation, but then it seems to fizzle out. And I got some great guys there as well that would,
I've actually called the bluff on it because probably one of the second or third biggest stables of fighters in the country I have here, and I've actually gone out of my way to offer them, gone here when Bellator's in Dublin, I have these guys, do you want them? Because people are always saying to me, why won't you put any of your guys on Bellator? I'm like, I've no issue with that.
Yeah,
but a load of boys there that happily fight on, I'm not getting offers.
And with the best will in the world, I look at some of the cards and I'm thinking, do you know, I got really, like Edwards then for an example, Chris. Yeah. Chris would be a tough fight. If they wanted to give one of their up-and-coming stars a really tough fight, I got just a guy there that'll turn up on a show, the fans will get behind him, and never in a dull fight. I got some really good level guys there, but no, it doesn't seem to happen. But I don't lose a seat. Cage Warriors and Graham, they look after us, and
and like I said, I've always been very open about how I see this. I want my guys to try and push for the UFC. That's the plan. That's every fighter's
That's
plan.
The end goal, isn't it?
Anything that is different is either a liar or they're not doing the sport right.
There's a select, I've got different guys in for different purposes. I've got some guys where I'll go, no, even if Bellator came and offered him a really good contract, it would be, you're not going there because you are going to sign for the UFC. Oban's a perfect example, Oban.
You can see how it's going to sprawl.
Yeah, it's going to, and we've got the blueprint. We've done it. The Cage Warriors seen UFC twice now with Jack and Marshman and Jack Shaw. Oban will follow that lead. But then I got other guys who've probably just missed the boat a little bit for the UFC, but it's still good, solid pros.
Yeah, that's same. Yeah,
who could turn up and have a good go
and get a decent payday out of it.
Yeah,
and, you know
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I'd be the same. I've never ever been offered, never. And they're in Dublin.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Going back to yourself, mate. You know, you've been around some fantastic fighters over the years. Who's the most talented? I mean, actual natural talent. Who's the most talented fighter you've trained with?
Like as in just picks it up so easy.
Well, it could be forever, you know. Like it could just be that exactly that. You know, you teach them something once, next, you know, they sub in higher belts with it.
Yeah, you know, can I give a few different people?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Conor for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Cole, because he's probably one of the toughest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And, like even very early on, and I think he'd say this himself, he was beating guys that he had no business beating. Like they were far ahead of him with their skill sets. They were black belts. They'd won Europeans in jiu-jitsu and all, and Cole would be beating the piss out of him on the ground because he just wanted them more. And then I've always found like Ash Daly, like just because the sheer way she had to go about it, you know, a gym full of dudes, you know, alpha male dickhead dudes, and kind of had to dig in and get it done, and had to kind of earn people's respect a lot more than most of the lads would have had to, you know. So yeah, they stand out for me. Artem Lobov too, because motherfucker just fight anyone that's dropped a hat. Me, I'm his friend, and I'd be included in that. He'd just be like, yeah, let's go.
I want to talk a bit about your team now. Yourself and Tom King have started Team KF, and you know your results are there for all to see. And you know, I keep a close eye on Tom as well. You know, for me, he's what a BJJ coach should be. He's a black belt, elite level guy that's still putting his own reputation on the line. He's turning up. He's all over the place, you know, competing. Whenever I turn Twitter on the weekend, as a result that he's been, you know. So I've never met Tom personally, you know, but he's somebody I've got a huge amount of respect for because, you know, through social media now you can keep an eye on people's close careers. So how long has your club been going, and you know, what was your decision, and why did you decide, right, we're going to move away from the SBG brand and we're going to start our own thing?
So the club is 2016. We started. We were just 4 years. We were 4 years in. Unfortunately, the club was closed when we were 4 years old. It was we were 4 years old in April. I think is it two? I think it's 2 years since we changed the name now. So we just like basically like it's been out in the world, and I'll be honest with it. We were brought into a room and asked to pay for a brand that we felt we had built, basically.
To be called SBG, yeah?
Yeah. And we said no to that. Like, we just said no to it straight off the bat. We weren't going to do that. And then we were offered then to just not have to pay it, but remain SBG. And then the seeds had been sown at that point. So we kind of stayed like that for a couple of months, and then we're just like, look, this doesn't work for us. Felt like just a little bit disheartened by the whole thing. You know, felt like we had in our opinion, obviously other people didn't feel that way, but we felt we'd help build the brand, we'd help establish the brand, and we felt like both myself and Tom had taught like numerous classes. Like both of us had weekly classes in the club, you know, that we were teaching. So, and then it was like, this was almost like, well, this is what I was, like, in my brain all along, that's what I was doing it for, you know, that kind of way. And same with Tom, and to help the team grow. And then, and then we were just sat in a room and asked.
What were you originally called? I'm guessing SBG. And
SBG Swords. So the area where we are is like a big town, and it's by the airport actually, a big town in Dublin called Swords. I think it's about like 50,000 people, but then it's surrounded by loads of big areas too. So you're in a, like, we're all kind of north county Dublin is us, like, so it's a big. So just for me to be clear, right? So you're all training at SBG Dublin with John, and then you and Tom have said we're going to start our own affiliate, yeah. And Tom's obviously been with John from day one as well, like yourself. So Tom is his first ever black belt. Black belt, yeah, I read that. So you two have gone. And then it was just, you know, after a couple of years, then they start asking for money. Yeah, they brought everyone in. So they brought they brought all the clubs in, all the affiliates. And that was another thing. Like there was some people that had maybe invested to get the affiliate, and I felt like I was sitting around with these people going, "How am I the same as this guy?"
Yeah.
So it was just I about halfway through the meeting, me and Tom looked at each other across the table. Me and Tom are very like we're very upfront, we're very kind of honest, and we you'll know we like you pretty quickly. You know, kind of way, like the two of us looked at each other across the table and went like that, and we just get up and left.
Yeah, and that was it. It was as clear cut as that. No more dialogue, and you just went off. And
they spoke to us then after that, saying, "Look, you know, you can do it, but not pay the money now." But like that point,
the ship had said that's John and Matt Thornton, I'm guessing. Yeah,
another guy called Travis Davison. So the three of them were involved, and they were all there that day. So. John was actually gone. John had gone off at this point. It's kind of a weird situation. They kind of set us in a room, showing us some videos of some shit, like it was some American sales thing, and then said like this is to keep the day. Like we were kind of told when we went into the room that they had they owned all the rights to SVG and the Gorilla and all this kind of stuff. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, you know, it's a name at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, as we spoke earlier on, the team is about the characters and the coaches. Yeah. It's not necessarily what the actual terminology of the name is, you know. So, you know,
I'm still very close with loads of guys in that club.
Yeah,
I message most of them quite regularly before, after fights, chat to them. You know what I mean, like lads, because they're lads I would have trained with my whole career. You know, that kind of way. So there's no like towards teammates. I wish them all the success, but like just like. With me and Tom didn't really put it out in the world for a good while, and then we're just kind of like, well, why are we like? It looks like we've done something or something, you know, that kind of way. It like if the truth hurts people, well then maybe you shouldn't have done the shit.
Yeah, unfortunately, mate. You know, but it's had no detriment on you at all. I mean, your club has gone from strength to strength. So your coaching setup, then, Chris, you've got yourself. Tom, is there any other coaches involved in?
Ash Daly teaches the ladies, and she teaches the kids. And then, I like as well. Every now and again, I get Ash to cover some of my classes because it's nice for the lads to get. Ash has a completely different game. You have a game that has basically grown up, never been able to overpower anyone. Just couldn't ever physically overpower anyone. So she has this kind of little tricky game. Ash is a black belt as well. Like.
Yeah, well, I watched Ash grapple Backlash. One of my lads was competing in one of the sub-onlys up in Liverpool, and Ash fought Fionn.
Oh yeah, it was a good fight.
Yeah, and it was a really good bout. And I mean, you know, I've known Fionn since she was a blue belt, and you're talking like a real elite level.
Oh, of course,
world champion. She's number one in the world, I believe. You know.
Yeah.
And we were on the side, and a couple of people went, "Oh, I think this will be quick." And I said, "No, I've watched Ash fight MMA. She is so durable." I said, "I think this will be a decision." And there was people on the side going, "No chance. She'll get." We wait and see. And it did. It went to decision.
Yeah, and Ash started to
give a real good account of herself against
she did.
The best in the world.
She kind of like she started to mount her own kind of attacks towards the end of the fight. She was starting to put it back on it. She's that's what I mean. She's tough, durable. She's been around forever. She's kind of so much experience and knowledge. You know what I mean? And then it's all crammed into this little weird smiley little head. I don't know where it comes from. And then I've like some striking coaches and different stuff like that. But to be honest, I try to take I take all the MMA classes, so beginners and advanced and everything in between. I take a few no-gi classes a week, and then I take a few striking classes. But then that's just a timetable. Outside of the timetable, there's about another 12 to 14 classes for the pros, every week. So it's a fairly busy schedule.
And Tom leads on all the jiu-jitsu side of things, yeah?
He takes all the jiu-jitsu. So kind of something from when we started, and I like that about Tom. He's like straight off the bat when we're doing a timetable, he's like, right, I have to take all the fundamentals, as in he has to take them, which is why you want the best guy in the club taking the fundamentals.
Of course you do. Yeah. What?
I see a lot.
Still training the gi?
Tip.
Sorry, say again.
I said that the mistake I see a lot is where they get the blue belts to take the fundamentals class because they don't want to teach it anymore. It happens in a lot of clubs. They get bored of it, so they throw it to the lower down guys to teach. But the gi, I come and go from it. I come and go. I almost there's not a rule in the club, but there's almost an unwritten thing that you're going to grade faster if you compete, obviously, because it's easier to tell how good you are. So to move up any grade, I tend to go compete, and before that, I tend to try and roll a lot in the gi just for like maybe a few months beforehand before competing.
What belt are you at the moment? Brown?
I'm a brown belt. Brown. I won the like last year I won the British Open and the British Nationals at purple. I won it at my own weight at adult, and then I won the gi and no gi at Masters 1.
Brilliant. So that's your main structure. You teach everything, I guess, in BJJ, MMA, all the things. Which fighters should we then? So people that are not from Ireland, who should we be keeping? Right, we're back. Sorry, Chris, I lost the signal. I've come into a different. Not sure if it was on my end or not. So you were just running through with us about medaling at the British Open. So how long have you been a brown belt for?
I think I'm coming up on a year. I think maybe a little bit more. Like I said, I've never really paid attention. I was Cage Warriors champ with a white belt. I never graded at that point. But
I'm a big advocate of the gi. I mean, how many of your pro team actually train in the gi? Is it many?
Yeah, a good few, because it's kind of seen as essential with Tom in the gym, So
yeah, we've got the same mindset with us. I mean, all my guy, like our Jack's a black belt now, but even though he's concentrating on pro MMA, he's still 2 to 3 times a week in the gi as well. Yeah. And I just think it tightens up your overall game. And I always say to everybody, the best no-gi players in the world are usually one of the top 10 gi players at the same time.
They cross over.
That's always been my philosophy with it, man. I was asking you about which fighters do you think that we should be looking out for coming up through the ranks?
Yeah, so at the moment we have you obviously have Ian and James there already, and then we have like the likes of Conrad Iwanowski and Paul Lawrence, who are kind of more established pros. Then you've Omran Shaban. I don't know if we saw him in Cork that time. He fought in the Cage Warriors card in Cork. He's a Finnish guy who travels over to train with us, so stays here for like a few months at a time. He'd stay between my house and the gym, and
Yeah.
And then so he's had a pro fight and he won quite well against a very established pro, 4-1 guy. Omran was excellent that night. And then right now we have Adam Shelley and Taka Mandu are going to be coming through. They're both turning pro now. They're both kind of doing pretty much everything they can do with amateur,
Yeah, so good strength and depth at the moment. We are the same in as much as we've got real good level amateurs right through to the guys in the UFC now. And we all train together. And again, I don't know if you're saying, but we all train together as a group as well.
Yeah, same. So what you get with the Amis is they're going to push the pros because they're the bullseyes on the lads' backs. You know what I mean? And then with the pros, they'll bring the Amis on because they're looking up to these guys. You know that kind of way.
Of course it is. And the level of amateur today, Chris, and I've had this conversation with everybody else that I've done these interviews with, it's through the roof. It's incredible,
So Jack went through all the IMAFs and all that stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
How do you feel about them?
Right. They're fantastic in as
I'm
much
interviewing
as...
you now.
Yeah. I'll answer this. They're fantastic in as much as you turn up to a big event with the best fighters from around the world. You can't choose who you're fighting.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the format because 4 fights in 4 days doesn't necessarily mean the best person wins.
Yeah.
Because injuries play a part. fatigue can play a part. I mean, our Jack
you could have the two best guys fight each other in the first fight.
In the first fight. Yeah. Like our Jack had 4 fights in 3 days, and he had 3 first-round finishes and a decision in the final. So to be honest, the game plan was take him down, as little damage as possible to yourself, and finish the fight. Did a brilliant thing and great, and the kudos it brought him being the IMAF European champion. After 3 pro fights, the UFC tried to sign him, and I think a lot of that was to do with the fact that they're into the IMAF title winners as well.
Right.
But it's not an affordable option for a lot of my guys. A lot of my guys, I've got kids there, 18, 19, 20, who I believe could go on and become a world champion at IMAF.
Right.
But if it's in the US, or these kids have not got the finances to take themselves away. So that's the only downside. I think the cost of it is that. And to be honest, Chris, I think in the current climate, with Cage Warriors, when they come to Wales in particular, Graham gives me a free rein to put as many amateur fights on as I like in 3 hours. So I think you get just as much experience from fighting in front of a crowd in the
of course,
with a few thousand people there.
I wouldn't be a massive. I've actually nothing against the IMAF thing. I like the idea. I just think from my guys that want to go on to fight. Say they want to find the UFC, that's their plan, and they're starting out as amateurs. I don't really see the benefit of going over and fighting in one of those things. Like one doesn't lead to the other at all in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. I also find that do people fight differently because they're in a tournament? So
of course they do. And I mean, on a one-off fight, you go out there and you've got 3 rounds to win that fight. There's so many other things you've got to worry about. I mean, you've got to worry about picking up an injury, picking up a cut, picking up a concussion. All these things to stop you going on to become a world. And we were lucky, mate. It was in Birmingham when the IMAF so it was up the road. We didn't have to pay for any flights. The sponsors paid for the hotel for us for the 4 days. We fought a couple of SBG guys, funny enough. One, I can't think of the lad's name. He still trains with Tom. He's a pro under John now. Jack fought him in
Clark, is it?
No.
Kieran Clark, no?
No. He fought another Welsh lad recently on Brave. I can't think of his bloody name. He'll come back to me. Like yourself, mate, I've been thumped a few times too many in the head over the years.
Yeah.
But, I enjoyed the experience. It served Jack's career well, but I don't think it's essential now. Oban never done an IMAF, and I think he's going to have as big a career as anybody, from the club. So I'm all for it. It's a great experience if you can afford it and you've got access to it. But I don't think it's essential. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Just on the coaching part, what's your ambitions as a coach? What's your 3-year plan? Where would you like to be within the next 3 years? What would you like to have achieved?
I honestly feel I'll have a couple of guys in the UFC. But I think the main thing is I'd like to own a facility. So I'd like to own
it, rather than have to rent or lease, yeah.
That's the plan in the next 3 years, because I feel like then it takes a lot of the business pressure off, and then I can just concentrate on what I'm doing. That kind of way.
Yeah, good choice.
That's kind of that's me saying that. It's Tom's idea. I'm never the brains.
He's the brains of the outfit.
I should have just Tom and my wife Laura should just chat. They're the brains. As they joke when we were out having drinks one night, they were like, I'd have disco balls on the roof and everything, and everyone would train for free, So every sob story would be in the place for free, that's the plan. That would be the plan. I feel like, how things are going and how it's building, I think we'll have a few guys in the UFC, and I'd like to have. My plan last year, was it? My plan for 2019, for all of 2019, was to have the top amateur team in the country, and I had that.
Yeah.
So my plan this year was to have the top pro team in the country, and that's probably going to get hindered now because my guys are going to be held back turning pro and stuff, So it'll be like, so that'll move on to the next year then, that'll be 2021 will be, have the top pro team in the country. And then I want to be the gym here that's putting the guys in the UFC. That's
Yeah, and that's a great approach. You know, very similar to what mine was. Setting yourself like small steps. I always say there is a gentleman I work with called Harry Trelawney, and he was a really good rugby player. You know, he's a coach now. And one thing he said to me, which it's stuck with me since I met him, is win the minute. Right. You know, don't look too far. Win the minute. Always win. And for me, it was like bigger gym. Right now, I want to establish myself with Cage Warriors and Bama. Then it was get a world champion. Then it was get multiple world champions. Then it was get a fight in the UFC. Then get a stable in the UFC. And I think as long, you know, like yourself, with the, you know, you've got a good approach. You've got a good experience. You've got good coaches around you, and also you've got like you said, you'd be the best coach in the world. But unless you've got the fighters coming through the door, and you're in an area where lads with a really good attitude are coming through the door, it's a recipe for success. And you know, I've no doubt, mate, that we'll be having this conversation in a couple of years, reflecting on this interview, and it'll be tick, tick, you know, checked off all the lists.
What about you? What's your plan for the next 3 years?
For me, I mean, I'm now in a venue where I have no aspirations to go to a bigger venue. You know, we've finally reached that goal at the moment. You know, you never know. I've got the 2 Jacks in the UFC. Brett Johns has joined me now as well, so we've got 3 guys in the UFC.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brett's a great fighter.
He's a great lad as well. He's come in with a great and you know, you'd pay to watch him and Jack sparring. They push each other. You know, you can't put a paper between them, and they're just learning off each other constantly. And I've got a real good team of like the guys anyway. Josh Reed, you know, who's 4 world titles. Chris Edwards. I've got a stable full of youngsters coming through as well. I'd like to get another 2 fighters into the UFC, and I really think that's possible. But a key one for me in 3 years is, you know, and we set our goal is a UFC champion. Right. You know, he is my lad and all the rest, but he's got the right attitude and the right approach.
He has the ability to be there 100%.
You know, I think so. You know, again, same as anything, as you said, it's having, like you said, you went to the Ultimate Fighter and then the UFC coming up. So it's about having the rub of the green, having the right opportunities, the right fights, you know.
I'd say that's one of the biggest things Conor has done for fighters this side here, is that like he's actually shown it is possible to go in and be a champion. It is possible.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think he's the one thing, you know, Conor's in the news for all sorts, for positive, negative. Yeah. But what he has done, he's stayed committed to his team. You know, I know he's brought in some out, but he flies the SPG flag. He's not looked to leave anywhere else. And again, I think that's a great blueprint, you know, for people to look at as an example and think, well, do you know, we don't need to be going to America. And as you said, I'm an advocate of, I don't mind guys going and training elsewhere and sparring and all the rest of it, but you've got to have...
As I said, I want my guys going over to you. We've spoken about that before. I want them to go over and do some rounds. I think that's just healthy to get around different ideas and different looks, you know. I don't want them going to places where they're going to be used as cannon fodder for some mutant, you know what I mean?
And unfortunately, there are gyms out there like that. You've got to have a situation like us. You know, we're mates. We got trust in each other. I know I can send my lads over to you. You make sure they were looked after and no liberties took, and vice versa, mate. So I think that's where this is. I'm going to throw some quick fire questions off you now off the social media. All right. Right. Okay. So the first one is off our Jack. Do you prefer the role of coach compared to fighter? And who do you think will be the next Irish UFC star?
Irish. Has to be Irish, yeah?
Yep.
Yes, I do prefer the role of coach to fighter. Always been very nervous when I fight, like ridiculously nervous. Probably never enjoyed it as much as I should. I adore training, love it. Love training, love getting ready, and then I'm out the back and I'm like, why am I doing this? And then next Irish star, I think it has to be Ian. Like.
Who, Ian? Yeah.
Ian Gary, yeah, I think so.
I think him and Oban are 2 of these kids where they're very, very similar. They got the same sort of personality. They can talk the talk on the mic, but then they back it up when they fight. And I think both lads, to be honest, Ian's 3-0 as well. Yeah. They're both much better than their record, you know. There's no need to rush. I say this to you know, we'll go at the right pace. We've got the structure in place here. But I'd have no hesitation in putting him in for a title fight tomorrow. I think, I believe the same with Ian. You know, after watching Ian's performances, I think you probably have that confidence that you would be able to stick him in. Yeah.
And I think like he like for all that kind of like bravado and for some of the obviously the natural things that he possesses, he's actually like he trains hard and he wants to be in the gym and he listens and he asks questions and
that's a great combination.
Yeah.
Right, Ryan Lewis. First question is, does it hurt being so good looking? But more importantly, who's the best grappler you've ever rolled with who might not be well known to the general public?
All right, not well known. I rolled with Buchecha before. That was an experience.
Yeah.
He fucking mauled me. I'd like to say, you know, it was a tough round for him. It wasn't really. Though.
It wasn't.
You don't really understand the levels. It's scary. We've a very good black belt in there, Jim. Obviously, Tom. I think a lot of people would know Tom anyway. You know.
Yeah, I think anybody on the BJJ circuit would know Tom now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, we've a very good black belt in our gym called Anton Ivelevic, and he's Croatian, but he's a Hodger. We brought over his coach to give him his black belt because he's been living over here for years. So we brought his coach over for a seminar, and he gave him the black in the club, which was nice because he's been training and coaching their place for a long time. He's excellent, and his understanding of jiu-jitsu is scary. He's going to be a phenomenal coach. And then I'd say a lot of people on the jiu-jitsu circle will know this guy, but MMA guys will never have heard of him. Taylor Kerman, and Taylor's an absolute animal. Scary individual. Scary.
Is he training at your gym, Chris?
James is ZR team when he's back in things. So is Alan. Me and Alan are very close.
Yeah.
So Taylor comes over a good bit. Yeah, trained. Excellent.
Great.
Excellent.
Hugh Fairclough has asked, what went through your mind when you front kicked John Phillips square on the chin and he didn't go down?
I better fucking shoot fast because now he's pissed off.
I don't know if you're aware of it. I was in John's corner at that fight.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. John didn't train with me, but Chris was short of a cornerman, and myself and Chris Reese, who was John's coach at the time, done a fair bit of training, and I can't remember. We either had was it Edwards? I think Edwards was fighting on there. It was either Edwards or Martin McDonough fought on the same show. So I cornered them, and then I jumped in and cornered.
John's a gent, but he's a savage. He's
savage, mate. Yeah. And you've done a bit of. Obviously, he came over to SPG, and you obviously done a bit of.
Oh yeah, we trained together. He's a gent, like a lot of time from, but he's an animal of a man. Yeah.
He's a character.
Like stupid power, like ridiculous power. Like,
when you said about Conor having the death touch, you know, Phillips has got that at middleweight, doesn't he?
I remember I blocked a hook here, and my own knuckles had my eye out here. He hit so hard. Yeah, he's a scary man.
Right. Julian Bosley has asked about a UFC swan song. We've touched on that. Lee Batchelor, if you could use one word to sum up John Kavanagh, what would it be and why?
Disappointed.
Okay. All right. And I think what we spoke about earlier probably is touched on the reasons for that. Yeah. Okay, mate. Ian Gary. If you could go back and start your career over again, would you do anything different? For example, you know, training, your choices that you made in your career. Have you got any regrets, or you know, is there anything you would do differently?
I'd be coached by me first of all. Nah, look, just played out how it played out. I don't think I think I started a professional sport at 25 years old. The fact I did what I did is quite impressive. Obviously you could do more, but you can always do more. But nah, I'm happy enough. Really? Like the training methods were mental, but they were mental everywhere at the time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, we killed each other.
You've got a great approach, mate. To be honest with you, just on some of the things you said in this chat today, you know. You can have regrets, but you know you can't change the past, and you seem happy enough, and you're doing something you love now for a living as well. So you know it's all worked out for the right.
Yeah.
James Messenger has asked about the tough house. We've spoken about that. Oban Elliott's having a spat with Ian Gallagher.
I actually got into this. I got involved in this. So.
Okay. Pete Lavery. I've got a story about Pete if you want to get him back with something.
Go on.
I went out to Ireland in 2002 to do a jiu-jitsu competition. And Pete took me under his wing and looked after me. He ran the competition. So I spent a weekend with Pete. What an absolute place Belfast was. It was just after the soldiers and had come out. So it was a bit rough and ready at the time. But we're in a pub after the fight. It was a jiu-jitsu competition. So we're in the pub. I'm not a big drinker, Chris. Any of the boys will tell you I drink like a 12-year-old girl, you know, 4 pints and I'm falling over drunk. But I'm out there with a lad called Di Thomas. And Di likes a beer, so we've gone out on the beer. Di must have had 8-9 pints of beer. God knows how many Jack Daniels. We've rocked into the hotel at past 2 a.m. We've got up. We're sat down having breakfast, and Di has had a pint of Guinness with his breakfast. And Pete comes across. He says, "Shake, we've had to pull out for a fight this afternoon." And it was an MMA fight in. It was in a hotel. The hotel was famous for being one of the most bombed hotels in the world at the time, right? I go, "Pal, you got no chance. I haven't stopped being sick this morning." Well, my mate Di now, who's halfway through his food, 2 pints deep into Guinness. Yeah, I'll do it. And Pete's gone, he's not. He's a bit of a striker. He's from England. He's not much of a grappler. If you take him down, Di, you'll be all right. And I'm going to Di. There's no English lad coming over here and fighting in some hotel, you know, full of Irish lads, you know. We've gone out. Anyway, Di's took a fight. The bell's gone. We're like 10 seconds in. The lad's thrown a nastiest, like, Thai low kick. Pop Di's knee clean out and I've thrown the towel in. 15 seconds. 15 seconds in. So we carried him out of the ring. They put us in a taxi. We got to the airport. I carried him onto the plane. We come back home. Absolute brilliant. But we had a good night. There's a few stories I won't tell you when the public are watching about the night out as well. When we're on it.
I'm a fucker. I'm always at Peter. Always at him. And if he's cornering me when I'm, or if he's reffing while I'm fighting, I'm moaning at him during the fight. if he's reffing while I'm cornering, I'm at him the whole time. I just never leave up on the guy.
I like old Pete, and he's done well for himself as well. You know, I remember back in 2002 in the traditional jiu-jitsu days, we were under the same affiliation, and he's a good guy, and he's doing well with his club, his reffing. And what was nice as well, I think he reffed our Jack's first ever pro fight on Cage Warriors, which
nice,
he done a nice write up on it, you know, after.
He's a gent. Yeah, he's a gent.
Yeah, he's a lovely fella. A good guy. Grant Elliott, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized McGregors or 1 McGregor-sized duck?
100 duck-sized McGregors or 1 McGregor. Jesus. Don't know. Do you want 100 Conors? 100 Conors in the world.
Imagine the noise with the quacking as well.
Yeah. No, 1 is enough. Yeah, we go with the 1 duck.
The 1. Right. Last one. Scott Pedersen, one of my guys. Who was your toughest fight and why?
Toughest fight. Don't know. Like, Jesus, that's a tough question. I never really thought about it before. John Phillips was a tough one. Just as in how dangerous he was on the feet. Like, you knew if anything landed, you were done. Game over. The fight was short notice because I think he'd had a pullout just like 2 weeks before, and then I was getting tired, and he's not a man you want to be tired in there with, you know. He's not a man you want to be tired in there with at all. Jeez, that's a tough question. Trying to think now. Do you know what? Actually, Jesse Taylor.
Yeah.
Just a fucking nightmare matchup, like. And again, I took the fight on, being the moron I am at the best of times. I took the fight on about 3 weeks' notice against probably one of the best wrestlers in MMA.
So was that your title defence, yeah?
Yeah, in Dublin. So it was supposed to be a guy called Victor Chang, who was used to be bouncing around. I think you.
Yeah, he was part of the 4-man tournament. He was in when John fought Kush. Victor Chen beat somebody in a man in Jordan. I can't remember who it was. Yeah, so.
So it was supposed to be Chang for the first defence, and then he pulled out a few weeks before, and they offered me Jesse Taylor, and I obviously said yes. But then he just felt like a gorilla. I couldn't get him off me. Just on me the whole time. No space, no nothing.
He beat John as well, didn't he? For a title fight in Cardiff. Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, he should have been like probably a contender in the UFC. Like, and he's just such a fuck up.
Yeah, I think he's a bit loose outside of the
yeah,
training.
he's a mental case. Yeah, he's a mental case.
Right. Couple of questions, then I'll ask everybody to finish the interview off.
Cool.
If you could fight anyone, past or present, who would it be?
The Dalai Lama.
What do you want to go and fill him in for?
Because I just want him to have to fight back. So then he ruins his whole thing. Like.
Outside of the box with that one, Fieldsy, right? Nice answer. Nice answer.
I would have always liked to have fought Anderson Silva in his peak just to know how good he was.
Yeah, that'd have been an experience.
Probably not a very good experience, but an experience.
Would it be? Even sparring and training with those type of guys is a nice experience, isn't it? You know, there's certain guys that in their art are levels above. You know, I always refer to like in jiu-jitsu. You know, I've rolled with all levels of black belt, but when you roll them out with a Broly Estima or a Roger Gracie, it's a totally different world. And you know, probably the same with Anderson back in the day with his striking and his MMA. Yeah. And until you actually feel it and experience it in a physical way.
I'd say you think you felt stuff like it before, and then it happens, and you're going, "What is that?"
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'd say it was special.
Right, Chris, thank you ever so much, mate, for taking time out to catch up with me. I'm going to put a slide up at the end of the video. So do you want to just tell the people about your gym and a little bit about social media where they can find out about training with you guys?
So we're Team KF Martial Arts. That's on like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I am myself on Facebook, so I'm not one of these guys who thinks they're above that, and the same on Twitter. So I like, if you want to get in contact, or if you're any questions, just send me a message. Like, I'll get back to you.
Brilliant. All right. Right. That's episode 5 with the legend, the housewife's favourite, Chris Fields. This has been my favourite interview to date, if I'm honest, Chris. So thanks for speaking with us, mate, and we'll definitely catch up soon, yeah?
See you soon, bro. Thank you. Did you manage to get to record?